Joyera senyi moyo maropa a Jesu ega dino chena genyiwo maropa a Jesu ega akana kisa Chenisa basindi noziwa maropa a Jesu ega dino sunungulwa di maropa a Jesu ega dino awona basi maropa a Jesu ega akana kisa anondi chenisa basindi noziwa maropa a Jesu ega hakuna chimwe chiro maropa a Jesu ega kurekera zitadzo maropa a Jesu ega akana kisa Chenisa basindi noziwa maropa a Jesu ega dirusimiro wangu na maropa a Jesu ega nekurura makwangu maropa a Jesu ega akana kisa anondi chenisa basindi noziwa maropa a Jesu ega Jesu ega rukuzo dino dinonza maropa a Jesu ega akana kisa anondi chenisa Ziwa maropa a Jesu ega akana kisa anondi chenisa basindi noziwa maropa a Jesu ega basindi noziwa maropa a Jesu ega basindi noziwa maropa a Jesu ega.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. We may take our seats. I have to balance two things, and I believe seriousness is not the opposite of happiness. So if you are serious with life, it does not mean you are not happy. You can be serious and happy, because these are no opposites. So by the end of the day, I want us to be serious and to be happy. And the happiness is not what people think about you. It's the contentment within that no force can destroy. You know what? Not even marriage can destroy a happy woman. Because happiness is not a product of marriage. We marry because we are happy. I hope you hear me. It's like when we get into relationships. Relationships do not make us happy. Happy people have healthy relationships. Unfortunately, most of the products that we have nowadays are products of relationships that were made by fools. I'm not saying we are fools, remember. I am amongst my own. Yes, I'm amongst my own. So we are not going to talk of the theory of probability in case we confuse others, even though we know we won't confuse each other. And we agree that when we talk of probability, we are giving room to that which we do not understand. By talking of probability, we are saying we are not in charge, we are not in control. The probability of it raining tomorrow is 40%. What does it mean? It means we are not sure. We don't know. Here we are, ladies and gentlemen. This is what we are going to discuss today. We are going to discuss, remember, I'm wearing two hats. I'm your parent, I'm your elder, I'm amongst my own. So it's a difficult scenario where we have to balance this. I was talking to Dr. Chaka to say, you know, when your parents bring you here, they have entrusted your lives into our hands. And we need to be responsible. What your father expected or what your mother expected is what we must produce. If we fail to do that, we have failed you and your parent and the nation at large. So everyone out there who is giving people problems has been through a parent's hand, and the parent decided to be careless. So we can no longer afford to be careless with you, because you are the only resource that we have that is left, and we are going to guard it jealously. Saka kune vanhu vazhinji, even on social media, we have theories of life. I don't present theories of life in case they are wrong. What we are talking of are the practical issues of life, your life and my life. And when we discuss our lives, we must not discuss it as passengers in our own lives. We need to take charge. And this is what I want you to know, not under your watch. You cannot ruin the whole capital that we have under your watch. Because of everything else, the capital that you have, my daughter, is who you are. Yeah, fine. Now, ndoda kuti tidai kumetsi tunotaura maxima and minima. You take a stone, orikanda mudenga, it will come down. Why? Because of gravity. So basically, at times when you throw a stone, borrowing from my brother, when you throw a stone, it will go as far as the capacity in it or the thrust in it is overcoming the drag. And when that ceases to be, it has to come down. Clear? I want you to put that mathematical concept into all issues of life. To say, a marriage will fail when the thrust is overcome by the drag. The question is, during the relationship, did you develop enough trust to overcome the drag in marriage? So if a relationship is also helping you accumulate weight without increasing the trust, you will come down. The reason why you were in a first relationship and it failed, the drag overcame the thrust. You were found wanting. Whether the guy was a fool and you were wise, but you were found wanting. Let's forget about of everything else. Let's discuss this issue. My daughter, do you agree with me? Therefore, when you prepare for life, Paris, we say you are in the design stage. When you have to say, I am designing an aeroplane, that must reach places where the stone could not go. Therefore, the design feature must be such that when everything has been given to it, because it's not the fuel that makes it fire, even though it contributes. But we are talking of the design feature where fuel will not be wasted. Kuti isumuke. Because ukatora mota iko zvinezvi, ukaimhanyisa 800 kilometers an hour on the runway, it will not fly. Even though you put the same fuel or a better fuel engine, it will consume all the fuel. But if the aim was for it to fly, it will not fly. Why? Because of the limiting factor of the design. Therefore, we also want to say, you may have good intentions, my daughter, where you want a good life, a good family, a good husband, a good everything. It does not depend on the wishful thinking. It depends on the design of the object. Will it fly? So, unfortunately, in life, it's not about writing a theory and believing it. Then you call yourself successful. And most of the things that we are failing us nowadays are the things that we believed without assessing as to whether the design is going to get us places. So that's the reason why we are going to talk of the design. Because this is the time to discuss the design. Beauty is good. Smartness is good. Doing your hair is good. You know what? But no matter how much paint you spend on Chingoma's helicopter, it will not fly. Not because he failed. You get what I mean? But we are talking of design here. I hope you get me, my daughter. Mm-hmm. That's normally what happens even in love. There's no relationship without investment. But you should know which capital you are using for what end. These are the things that we, as we come, as we discuss, as we talk, we need to consider seriously. And knowing very much we have been there. I hope the Lord is going to bless you, my children. And I hope you are going to reach places that we have never gotten to. And to fulfill dreams that we thought we could achieve, but we failed. You know, when a man looks at his child, we see more than what your boyfriend sees. We see an object that will fly. So the reason why we fight, it is because your boyfriend may not be interested in your flying, but in possession. But I possess you by birth. Therefore, I do not invest shortly so that you become happy and accept me and fail to fly. Because all I want from you is not a kiss. In fact, you have never kissed me, but I'm faithfully paying my fees. That's the difference between me and your boyfriend. But I'm not fighting your boyfriend. Unfortunately, he has no desire to fly. But I am financing a project that I know will not take off. And your boyfriend is the drag that I've been fighting all along. I wish I could. I'm not saying your boyfriend is not good. No, normally young men, they always feel I'm a feminist. But I want to tell you, and I'll honestly tell you, women's rights are human rights. And when a woman flies, a man gets empowered. If you feel threatened because a woman is flying, you are not man enough. Because remember, women were not told to submit to us by design, but it's what an instruction from above. And nobody can override that one. Therefore, we are allowed to be academically equipped, but academics do not remove submission. So you can excel as they excel, but you still remain in charge if you have something to offer. And they will discuss that. I was just passing through this one. So these are the issues that we are going to discuss, the design. After we've discussed the design, I will ask you a very simple question. Will it fly? If you think it will fly, therefore continue investing. If you think it is not going to fly, therefore do invest. That's wisdom. That's wisdom, and I know you all agree with me. I was asking youngsters last week to say, I will ask you, stand up, my daughters, please, the two of you. You come, my daughter. Don't worry. Vanhu vese vanenge vachikuona mutv zvavanofunga hazvinei nemi. Hazvinei nemi. People vanofanga kufunga. This is a good marriage. This is a bad marriage. You are representing marriage. You get the point. You are representing marriage. Don't worry about these people. You see, they always laugh. This is a good marriage. This is a bad marriage. What do you think are the ingredients that would produce a very bad marriage? I'll be asking at random. So the first question is, what are the ingredients that can produce a bad marriage? Number one, do not explain. It's like, for example, if you think drinking will produce a bad marriage, you just say drinking. If you think unfaithfulness, if you think whatever you think, or you think of your father, you tell me what your father does that you think it may produce it. What do you think are the ingredients of a bad marriage? Number one?
I think the nature of investment.
What do you mean?
I mean...
Please be... You know what? Do not be scientific. I know you're a science student. I understand you. I get you. You get the point. But there are people out there who are not scientific.
There's what she expects to get from her investment, while the other partner also have what he expects from which might differ.
Failure to reconcile expectations. Normally, marriages may fail due to unfulfilled expectation. Things assumed but never discussed. For example, you are in love with someone. You expect him to marry, though he never said, I will marry. So by the end of the day, this is assumed expectation. Number one. Number two, you thought I would never come by you. I know you are thinking. Poor communication. I want you to understand. You are the ones who are saying this. Number one, poor communication. Number two, right expectations. It's like, for example, if a young man says, I love you, have you reconciled his definition of love with yours? I thought you as the scientific people would do this simple thing, but I know most of you have never done. It shows who you are. Passing mathematics does not make you wise. Now, number three, violence. You get what I mean? And I want to tell you, violence, violence is violence. You get what I mean? So we agree that violence can destroy a marriage. Be it physical or... Yes, violence is violence. Like for example, when you find in a relationship, you have got more court cases than smoothness. It's a violent relationship. It's an abusive relationship. For example, if you find you communicate better through body language than you do through the mouth, it's an abusive relationship. Yes. Ukaona kuti kurara ndo speciality yenyu pane kutaura. Asiwo uchiziva kuti vanorara kamwe ende kana vachinge varara 2 minutes. Une relationship ye 2 minutes. It's as simple as that. You are, you know what? And this kutaura nevana, you get what I mean? I'm speaking to people vane pfungwa dzinoshanda. If you have a relationship, inoranwa, net the things that you do for 2 minutes, what you will be doing for the next 23 hours and 58 minutes? What will you be doing? It shows that this relationship, they mapenzi, ine upenzi, but inoita sei inonakidza. Pamazana pekuti the people who are in this relationship are not thinking. You do not invest in a business to enjoy yourself. You invest to make money. If something is not bringing you returns, therefore it is not worthy. And augone kutora kunakirwa nekurara nemukomana as returns. That is not returns, that is depreciation of an asset. So we do not consider. Now, and now to Musarare, you need to know what is happening. If you think you are accumulating value, then I as a father came here to tell you that you have lost. Until the Lord, unless the Lord finds you, nobody will. That's the honest truth. Where you think when we built universities, we are building brothels. These are no brothels. We hoped that after my child has gone to school, things would be better. But unfortunately, baba wako wakatengesa mombe, kana wakatengesa mota, kuti uende kuchikoro, and iwe nemurume wako, you say goodbye to good life. Mota ufu wakairaira because izo we invested in a fool. Not because you were born one. The reason why you are here is because you have been thinking at one point. What happened? What happened? How can a whole person like you, anogona kurarama for 15 years without sex, at 16 things you cannot do without sex? Are you thinking? It's not possible. When it has been possible for a very long time. You know what? Why do you value life over things that are done for a very small amount of time? Unaziva kuti munhu anoba haabe for 24 hours. But zita rake reupenyu hwese ndereumbavha hwaanoita for 1 minute maybe pasvondo. Saka ukada kutarisa zvinhu zvatinofunga kuti izvo we cannot live without are the things that we spend a little of our time on. Hatirare nemusikana usiku hwese mangwana ese kana kuti svondo rese unorara naye for the minutes that you can define. But how can that define life? Nekuti for the 23 hours you are able to be alone. Urikungorara nemusikana for 5 minutes. And you say it is not possible to go for 5 minutes without a woman when you have been going for 23 hours. And you call that thinking. So when I talk of capacity, I'm not talking of a word that is foreign to you. I am talking of the way you are living the better part of your life. Mwanangu ndoda kutokuudza whether unorara nevakomana 70. Chandoda kungokuudza ndechekuti izvo what is defining you is not what consumes most of your time. Most of your time you are a good woman. How can you then be defined in a zvinhu zviri temporal in your... Saka ndawazokudza vana vangu itheory dzekubhawa nedzekunhongwa kupa not kubhawa kwakaiparega vanoenda vaende. But we cannot run life in a theory that was never trusted and tested. Itheory dzekunyepa dzekuti izvo at 22 you cannot live without a young man. But musuwo wakaramba wakatirega ndimbomira wakarova 2 years uri wega. Wakafa here. Hauna kufa. Zvinoreva kuti chi? You know what? The capacity is in us. If we want it, we can have it. My morals have been diminished so that we run the world from the west downwards and the people are smiling all the way to the bank. I want to tell you, when we talk of protection, it's not like protecting you. When we talk of protection, we are talking of profits. The more sex you have, the better the business. Yafai. Now, we agree. We have all agreed kuti izo ndakuwedzera kana ndikanyepa munonditaurira. We have agreed kuti violence. We have agreed kuti all forms of abuse. We have agreed kuti unfaithfulness. We have agreed kuti izo zvinhu zvakaita sekuti izo kuti you cannot be a woman of honor. We all agree kuti morals. We all agree kuti zvinhu zvakaita se promiscuity. We all agree kuti adultery. Zvinhu zvinot destroy a marriage. No matter how many men you slept with, you wouldn't want your men to sleep with other women because he is yours. This is what destroys marriages. And we believe that when we want a good marriage, it is the opposite of that. Now, because ndimi Mandara, from the day you dated, yes, your relationship taken you closer to a good marriage or to a bad one. That is an enesho kudenga isa atumbotara zokwenda kudenga andresere tongodo zvepano pasi izvo zvamati munoda zvepano izvo zvizvo discussing. You know what, guys, whether you are a Christian, as he said, I'm not an elder of church goers only. I'm an elder. I'm talking like an elder. You know what? We know what we want. We know what is good. We know what this is doing to us. But we know that our relationships are taking us further away from peace that we so crave for. And the desire is taking us further away from the thing that we cherish. You know what, my daughter? By the time that marriage, that relationship matures into marriage, it will have destroyed the capacity of you being happily married. But the relationship will only be for 2 years, and marriage will be for 60 years. But we destroyed the 60 years whilst enjoying the 2 years. And we cannot call it enjoying. Why? Because it is only for a while, for no known reason. And do you know what sex is? Imagination. It's in the mind. We do not atiti sex nema tools, tunoita sex ne mind. That's why muna akarara akarota anoita sarara nemunhu. That's why muna akatumirwa mapicture emunhu asina kupfeka anotofila aroused akatofila nhingi ndosaka kune zvinonzi pornography. Sex is in the mind. That's why ukakiswa nebenzi unoswera uchigeza asi ukakiswa nemunhu. That's why we are discussing the design and we are going to interact. The other thing that I want to tell you, remember we are talking of the design. I am saying, my daughter, if you know the marriage that you want, you cannot then leave the marriage. You cannot leave the expectation to the marriage when the relationship failed to produce the result. Like I would say, if you want to play soccer, you do not practice netball. Because by the time you go into the ground, you realize you are not a footballer. But how come you are practicing this when you want that? At what point will this relationship of yours be converted so that it produces that which you want? Remember, there is no enemy, any other enemy here except yourself. The thing that you are designing here will not fly. It's not about me, it's about what you said. You know what you want, you know what works, you know what constitutes a good marriage, but what are you doing? Busy planning to fail. And it will not fly. And when it fails to fly, never believe the lady of the street destroyed your marriage. Remember, destructive forces are not meant to destroy, but to measure strength. So when a man walks in the street and he picks the lady of the night, it shows where he has been during courtship. You trained him, and he now is implementing what you trained him to do. Therefore, a man who cannot honor God in a relationship will not honor God in marriage. No matter what. And then remember, whether you are a Christian or you are not a Christian, everyone else wants an honest person. And you cannot measure honesty according to assumption. You measure honesty according to performance. Yes. But what you have now, and what you are ordaining, and what you want us to bless, and what you call progress, the things that you are calling progress are the things that you are saying you don't want. Yes. It's not about the parent here. The difference between me and you, my daughter, it is because you believe and I live in it. You believe it will work, I know it doesn't work. Because I've been there. You believe it will fly, I know it won't. Because I've been there. I know in the engineer there is my son. And I know my son. They will define you as an engineer on the market. But when it comes to promiscuity, you behave like a street kid. Why? Because you developed one facet of life and you forgot the rest. What has happened to the educated mind? What happened to the educated mind? Because you know what? When people got educated during our times, it was an expression of taste. It was an expression of manners. It is only the educated who would say women first. Everyone else would scramble in. But unfortunately, the more educated you are losing it. Why? Because you forgot one thing. An engineer is a human being. You bring up the human being first before you qualify the being. It's not the qualification that we want, it is the daughter who carries the qualification. Because you cannot apply the sciences if you are not there. And how do you get to be there? It is because you have to live first before the degree leaves. Yes. But unfortunately, most of you are dying. And like he said, you'll be foolish graduates. Because you are forgetting one thing. You still remain Martha. That's why you will be Dr. Martha. Doctor, what have you? But if the Martha has been removed, my daughter, do you know why so many marriages fail? It is because you kill the recipients and get the certificate. Wow. And you walk home, you realize there's no wife here. Yafai. Unoza ati nini? Inini kuboyekana neni zvakakufanira kuramba sadza papati. Unotonzwa vamwe vachidaidzira kuti rapera tichiri kurida. In fact unotorwadziwa vana vako nemukadzi wako vadya vachitoti kumba hatisi kunobika. Havatozivi kuti wongo wakatsamwa. Ende inini unonditsamwirei ndiri kutsanangura zvinhu zvaunoita. Inini handina shiri yako yaunobhururutsa asi ndoda kungokutaurira kuti hausina shiri. That's all about life. Atitaure zvinhu zviri kure, toda kutaura zviri pedo nesu. Now we have agreed that this is a good marriage. Saka vanangu zvinhu zvichauraya ma aspirations enyu nezvichauraya this dream is munofunga saEsau. Do you know kuti patinotendeuka ndimboenda kugospel? You know the reason why I don't normally I don't normally read my verse. I don't read the letter of the Bible. I read the principle. I hope you get what I mean. So, the letter of the Bible, zvakafanira kuti Bible rinoti izvo, kana munhu akakurova mbama kune rimwe dama, mupe rimwe dama. The letter of the Bible ndo zvairi kutaura kuti murume wako akakurova chibhakera, mupe chimwe chibhakera. You get the point. Asi munhu akati zvakafanira kuti mwana uyu ndobva ndamurova mbama, obva auya achiti ndura yei. Ari kudereva ndura yei here? No, he protest. Ari kukuudza kuti there is nothing I can do to you because iwewe physically wakakura kudarika ini. Alright, chita zvaunoda. Hakuna imwe form of protest inodarika iyoyo. So when the Bible says munhu akakurova uku mupe rimwe dama, raireva kuti izvo, when bad is happening, protest but do not become bad. Saka tiri kutaura, this is the principle of the what? Of the Bible. Saka whenever we make discussions, we need maturity. And when we are talking of maturity, we are talking of the principle. I hope you get me. Saka principle of the Bible, do you know that there is what we call forgiveness? When you are a sinner, oenda kuna Mwari otizo Mwari ndiregererei, you are forgiven. But zvawakaitwa neukanga uri hazvibviswe nekuregererwa. For example, uyu anga ari mhombwe. Sorry, ndingopa bad example. Handimbozivi kuti maybe you are too good kuti ndisakupe. Uyu anga ari mhombwe. Do you get what I mean? Akachema pamberi paMwari akaregererwa. Kuregererwa hakureve kuti haasisiri mhombwe. Why? Because he has been through school. Chaakuramba panapa graduation. Saka Mwari amira akati izvo, I don't want you to graduate as a prostitute. And what does God do? He brings what we call the sanctification process, where he heals the wounds and he brings you back to the ideal. That is what we call the sanctification process. So what does God do? Bible rako rinoti izvo, we die to sin in baptism and we rise in Christ. So for a person to be sanctified, listen carefully, for a person to be sanctified, they are not improved sinners. But sinners must die. And God regenerates according to what he intended. So this sanctification process rinotikumbira kuti tife first kuzvivi tafa Mwari otanga kuweka nani nesu. Sanctification process mapabata. Why? Because the promise is we need to go to heaven. And ari kutiendesa ndiani? Ari kutiendesa ndiMwari kudenga rani? Kudenga rake. And I want you to listen carefully. Now, chimwe chinhu chinochakuurayai vana vangu ndechekufunga kuti getting married means someone must die. And you get sanctified so that you enter his heaven. And in a relationship, you are considered a sinner. Ari kuda kucheneswa. Kana ukachena ndokuroora. That's why you are doing everything. And you are dressing anyhow. And you are sleeping all over. Because you have declared yourself unworthy. And you think by sleeping with you, he is sanctifying you for his heaven. I wish you could think, amufunge. Amusikuda kufunga. Ndosaka uchimira munhu akaita sewe akapasa chikoro unomira uchindudza kuti a relationship isina kubata haigone kumira pamusana pekuti kurara tese kunosimbisa relationship. Uri benzi. You get what I mean? Why? Pamusana pekuti zviri clear kuti iwewe you are believing kuti izvo besides the organs that the Lord provided, I have nothing else to offer. But unfortunately, when I marry, I'm not looking for someone to go to bed with. I'm looking for a partner, a helper, fit for me. Do you think I want to be helped, to be sexually aroused? And this is what you have made yourselves of, you, all of you. And this is to all of you, can I do all of you, and deliver all of you, but deliver all of you. In any message. That's why uchiona vanhu vachifunga kuti izvo ndikaita mahips, ndikaita mazamu ari panze, anoti ave gay. I say panze kana ariwo aripo handozvoita zvaonazvo. Now ndikadai ndikaita mazvakati, ndikaita zvakati. You know what? Vanhu vazhinji vari kuroora nekuroorwa mana wangu. They have one thing to offer, natural resources. But the Bible rinoti izvo. A good wife comes from the Lord, not a good woman. Every woman has all those resources, but not all women can be good wives. Unfortunately, you are being what you are not supposed to be so as to achieve that which you will not achieve. Why? Because it cannot be achieved that way. That's why uchiona kuti kune madivorce akawanda vanhu vachirara kakawanda. That's why you find kuti ndikapuwa certificate nemukadzi kuti takutogara tese unonzwa kuti takadivorce. Kana kurara tese ndakurara naye 365 days pagore kana ndichizvikwanisa. Ndichirara naye 365 days pagore. How come iko zvinezvi kune madivorce when sex is all that is required in marriage? I want to tell you, sex has nothing to do with marriage but procreation. Do basa right? And the reason why you are dying for it is because you trained your mind not to think. And you know what? You are subject to thinking about it and you overestimate what it is. The reason why you are a servant of sex, it is because you failed to think. And you know what? When you are an addict, you never think these substances all that we live for. You know, it has mastered you. I want to tell you, you think sex, you dream sex, you read sex, you do sex, and you think that's all that life has to offer. I want to tell you, when you get there, you will realize there will be more to life than sex. That's why your mother told your father that let's coexist. We cannot share the same bedroom. She has realized she paid too much for too little. But that is the only qualification that you have. And they want to have a good marriage, foolish generation. Yafai. Regaiti taurani manam. Gara nyap. Anakuya kuno kuzokurambidzai kuita zvamunoda. Ndangoya kuzokuudzai kuti we used to see the world in the eyes that you are using. But we realized too late that the world is different from that. Vanangu ndoda kukuudzai, life is bigger than thought. Life is a principle. You need to make sure the design is correct if you are going to fly high. Pamwenyu makatomirirwa kaizvozvizvi kuti anodya sadza odya iwe. Saka washaya kuti kutotadza kurara. Endo uchiona munhu akaenda kuchikoro ari kunzi ari paCollege of Applied Science. Anofunga kuti relationship inosimbiswa nekutumira picture yemunhu asina kupfeka. Don't you realize kuti izvo, a man who is aroused by a photograph has so much to arouse him in the world when you are not there. Asiwo zvinoda here kuenda kuchikoro, ndiri kubvunza kuti ufunge kusvika palevel iyoyo chete. Handisi kumbota hatidi zvekuenda kudenga vanangu ndataurirana. Asi kuti iwe ungoona kuti kana munhu uchiti izvo achiti warara here oti zvonzi tuone omuratidza munhu akadaro kana ndiwewe handichachanakidzwa nelaptop yake kudarika iwe kana uchinge wamuroora. Because palaptop pachabuda type netype. And remember, grass is greener from afar. Normally that which you have loses value, but that which is out there looks better. Saka ndoda kutaura kuti mukadzi wepa next door anogona kunge akanaka kudarika wako kana uchinge wakumuona asisiri wako. This is the reason why you are missing your ex-boyfriend. Why? Pamusana pekuti izvo paakaenda wakufunga kuti nemukomana ndosa kwakuti friend yangu. All I'm telling you is you put yourself in a market where you are not going to be removed from the market. You will remain there as a symbol of foolishness. Kurwara chako chako. unorwara unoziva kuti chii unoda kutaurira chokwadi kandi chekuti izoka mabhazi ari kufamba achaenda wakayeva rine vanhu rakazara watoudzwa razara ende ndegadzikirwawo chimhanyaka relationship yauri kuti ndeyakwei you are not going to board pamusana pekuti you never checked in yafai
Ngangisone sibi ngezaye nkosini wathi ngegama lika Jesu ngathola ukukhululwa wezumthandazo wami wangithethelela wangingethula umthwalo wangishiya ngethulo ngangisone sibi ngezaye nkosini wathi ngegama lika Jesu ngathola ukukhululwa wezumthandazo wami wangithethelela wangingethula umthwalo wangishiya ngethulo yebo wethula umthwalo ungadlula yebo wethula umthwalo ngomthandazo wami uvalo lwami lwaphela uJesu wavusa umoya wami wangingethula umthwalo wangishiya ngethulo yebo wethula umthwalo ungadlula yebo wethula umthwalo ngomthandazo wami uvalo lwami lwaphela uJesu wavusa umoya wami wangingethula umthwalo wangishiya ngethulo wangithula umthwalo wangishiya ngehlanzekile uJesu wami wangithula umthwalo wangishiya ngehlanzekile kusi Jesu yangithanda kusi Jesu yamuthanda kusi Jesu wangifela lapho esiphambanweni kusi Jesu yangithanda kusi Jesu yamuthanda kusi Jesu wangifela lapho esiphambanweni uJesu wami wangithula umthwalo wangishiya ngehlanzekile uJesu wami wangithula umthwalo wangishiya ngehlanzekile ngizomethemba njalo uyayazi indlela uzongihola Jesu angisekele ezulwini ngolanda ngibongaphakade ungethula umthwalo wangishiya ngethulo ngizomethemba njalo ubuya yazi indlela uzongihola Jesu angisekele ezulwini ngolanda ngibongaphakade ungethula umthwalo wangishiya ngethulo yebo wethula umthwalo ungadlula yebo wethula umthwalo ngomthandazo wami uvalo lwami lwaphela uJesu wavusa umoya wami wangithula umthwalo wangishiya ngethulo yebo wethula umthwalo ungadlula yebo wethula umthwalo ngomthandazo wami uvalo lwami lwaphela Jesu wavusa umoya wami wangithula umthwalo wangishiya ngethulo yebo wethula umthwalo ungadlula yebo wethula umthwalo ngomthandazo wami uvalo lwami lwaphela uJesu wavusa umoya wami wangithula umthwalo wangishiya ngethulo